Hi everyone! So today we're going to be taking a look at these two colors by Daniel Smith and Roman Szmal, but they're not the same pigment and they're not the same name. First we have Daniel Smith Ultramarine Red made with PV15 and Roman Szmal Ultramarine Pink made with PR259. With Ultramarine Pink, I've sometimes seen it made with PR258 in the past. I think Mgram used to make it with PR258, but they probably changed it recently and I'm not really sure why that is. It's probably something to do with pigment availability from manufacturers and whatnot. But anyway, back in my Ultramarine Violet PV15 comparison video, I showed this Ultramarine Red PV15 in comparison to those other PV15s. And some viewers in the comments section spoke of how it might be similar to Ultramarine Pink, so I thought that this would be interesting to do since Daniel Smith doesn't have a PR259 in their range, and Roman Szmal doesn't have a Ultramarine Red PV15 in their range. But these two should probably be quite similar. I haven't swatched it side by side, so I'm actually going to be seeing the comparisons with you today. I'd have to say that these two colors are low tinting and a red-violet color. Obviously, this one says red and this one says pink. It's a muted somewhere in the pinky violety range. Definitely not a blue-violet. And it does granulate depending on which type of paper you use, how much water you use. From my experience, I haven't seen much granulation in Ultramarine Pink by Roman Szmal. I haven't pre-wetted any of these, so I'm just going in with a wet brush. You see that? Very light. Okay, no matter how much I go, it's low tinting. So that's for Roman Szmal, and I'm gonna put some water on there to let it soak for a bit and then come back to swatch it on here after it soaks for a bit. So that's Roman Szmal, and I'll do Daniel Smith Ultramarine Red on this side. Again, this hasn't been pre-wetted. I'm just going in with a wet brush. Again, this here right now is just showing you that from a dry pan, it is low tinting. So that's what we get from both dry pans, and I'll put water on this one as well, and then we'll come back to it once it has time to reactivate. And then we'll see if pre-wetting makes any difference to these. Alright, it's been a few minutes, so let's try Daniel Smith first. As it goes down right here, I'd say it's definitely a violet color, but leans a bit more like a, you know what, it's like a manganese violet. That's just a softer, lower tinting manganese violet. Let's see if I could pack in some more pigment. So I'd say at full strength, it's sort of, in mass tone, it's kind of medium tinting. There's some bubbles going on right here, as you can see. We'll see if those bubbles, once they disappear, will it stay on or will it just be fine or leave a texture? We'll come back to take a look at that. Okay, as for Roman Szmal, as Roman Szmal goes on, I'd say it's definitely more of a muted pink than a violet. Okay, so you can definitely see on camera clearly that there's a big difference. So with Daniel Smith being right next to the Roman Szmal Ultramarine Pink, this one really looks like a regular Ultramarine Violet PV15. Yeah, the Roman Szmal one is definitely more of a pink, a muted. It is a violet color, but a very soft muted red violet. If you already have lilac at home, it's very similar to lilac, but just more muted and more transparent. Okay, I'll wait for these to dry and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. The swatches have completely dried. And the first thing that I wanted to come back and look at were the bubbles. And as we can see, there isn't any evidence of the bubblage other than deposits of pigment at those bubble areas. So just be aware of that when you use the Daniel Smith Ultramarine Red. As for the hue, well, there's a clear difference here. Ultramarine Red by Daniel Smith looks very much like a regular Ultramarine Violet made with PV15. Do take a look at my comparison video if you want to see this color compared to regular Ultramarine Violets. I'll put the link below. And as for the Ultramarine Pink, since it's right next to this Ultramarine Red, it seems to be much more pink than it would be on its own. I'm not sure if you could see, but there is granulation happening. I think it'll come up better in the scans. So both of these do granulate, but because it's a low tinting color, the granulation isn't as apparent as, let's say, Ultramarine Blue. And I wanted to show you these swatches we made earlier, how they fared. So these ones were from swatching the pans without pre-wetting, and these up here were the ones where we had already pre-wetted. Let me zoom out. Here we go. If you like the color in its mass tone here, on both colors, then I recommend you pre-wetting the pan, let it soak and reactivate for a while before painting. But if your purpose is to just use the soft, light color, then I think using it straight out of the pan without reactivating or pre-wetting is just fine. And I found my Holbein lilac, so I'm going to show that you here today as well. Might as well do it right now. Okay. So how should I do this? And then we'll go with Holbein Lilac first. So that's Holbein Lilac in straight from the pan without pre-wetting. It is an opaque color because it has white in it. It's pastel-y, sort of. But once you dilute it a bit, then you can get that sort of more transparent. You can get it to be more transparent than it actually came in. See if I could add some more there. It is pretty bright, so we'll see it compared to this one, the Roman Szmal. So Roman Szmal is definitely more muted, but it is similar in hue, and the Roman Szmal Ultramarine Pink is definitely much more transparent. So for those of you wondering why I have this pigment and why I bought it in the first place, it's because I noticed myself really liking using lilac and lavenders in my skies, you know, next to blues and whatnot. I wanted a more transparent version of the Holbein Lilac, so that's where I found Ultramarine Pink. And I was gonna get the M-gram version because that was the only version available at the time, or at least available to me through Jackson's. And I just never got it because it was so expensive, and also people say that M-gram just doesn't dry. It stays rather like gooey, you know. And then Roman Szmal showed up and I was like, yes, I gotta try that. And I do like it. I mean, as you can see, I've used it, well, you can't really see, but there's a bit of a dip in there, so I have used some of it. And I don't really use it in mass tone. I sort of use it around here. That's why this hasn't dipped so much. And I quite like using these lower tinting colors, whether it be ultramarine pink or viridian, colors like that. I tend to use them in skies as well as, you know, to change the color temperature of a specific color to one way or the other. By slightly adding this, it doesn't overpower your mix. I'd love to know if any of you use low tinting colors like ultramarine pink or any other color. Personally, the only two that I use quite often are ultramarine pink and viridian. And there's things like potter's pink as well, but I don't really count that because I tend to use that more for its granulation effects and not its low tinting characteristic. And because they're low tinting, there really isn't a need to have this in your palette because you can water down your mixes to create the same types of hues. But sometimes it's good to have one like on the go. You don't have to mix and you already have one that you like. You can use it straight out of the pan without needing to feel any concern for it to be too strong tinting or overpowering. So if you've never used any of these sort of low tinting colors, I do urge you to give it a try. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't. If you're the type of person to mix your own paints, colors, then this might not be for you. It might be easier for you to just dilute your mixes and then use that. But for those of you who have been looking for this, Roman Szmal does make their formula very nice and quite easy to re-wet. It is a low tinting color, like I said, so it might seem like it's hard to re-wet, but it's not hard at all compared to other colors. Like earth colors, you know, those are pretty thirsty, so you'd need to pre-wet your pans to get its full strength as well. Okay, I think that's all I have to say for this one. I'll put the scan right after this, as per usual. And thank you so much for watching, everyone. Don't forget to drink lots of water and stay hydrated.